Stand in front of any cinema and look at the posters. Action film, one figure facing away from you, standing before an enormous landscape or explosion. The color palette is orange and teal. Comedy, 3 or 4 people facing the camera, slightly awkward expressions, arranged against a flat background. The names are in the same font as every other comedy poster. Prestige drama, a face, close cropped, looking slightly to the left of the camera, often desaturated, often featuring soft, flat lighting that makes the face look like a painting. You have seen all of these before, many times, from many different films. This is not accidental. Movie posters look the same because the people who make them have been taught that looking the same is safe. Here is the logic that leads there. A film studio invests between $50 and $200 million in a single movie. That investment needs to be protected. The marketing budget, which can easily reach 50% of the production budget, is not an opportunity for artistic experimentation. It is a defensive system designed to ensure that the maximum possible number of people click on the trailer, pick up the poster from a display, or stop scrolling. The problem is that nobody knows for certain what makes someone stop scrolling. Market research can test responses. Focus groups can report preferences, but the relationship between a movie poster and a ticket sale is notoriously hard to measure. Studios cannot run a controlled experiment. They cannot release 2 versions of the same film with 2 different posters and watch the revenue split. What they can do is look at what worked before, the orange and teal color scheme, that warm, cool, complementary contrast that appears on what feels like every other action poster, became ubiquitous because it was tested and found effective. It is visually arresting, works well at small sizes, reproduces clearly on both print and digital screens, and registers quickly when someone is scrolling past it. Once a few successful films used it, studios began copying it. Once it was everywhere, audiences came to associate it with a certain kind of film. It became the signal for a genre. The same process produced every other recurring template, the floating heads poster in which the principal cast's faces are arranged above the title. Emerged in the 1980s and persisted because it communicates the genre, ensemble drama or comedy, the stars, the most commercially valuable element of many film releases, and the title all in a single glance. Designers call this visual shorthand. You don't need to read the poster to understand what it's selling, the format tells you. But visual shorthand has a ceiling. Once the shorthand becomes universal, it stops doing its job. If every poster uses the same template, then no poster stands out. A theater lobby full of orange and teal action posters is indistinguishable as a collection. The formula that was supposed to attract attention becomes the noise that drowns it out. Studios know this. The most self-aware studios deliberately design breakout posters for specific films, something that consciously violates the genre template to attract attention from people who are tired of the template. When the poster for A Quiet Place showed 2 people screaming silently at each other, it was immediately legible as something different. When Get Out's poster was an extreme close-up of a single, terrified eye, it broke every horror poster convention and became one of the most discussed images of its year. But these are exceptions, and they are designed as exceptions. They were partly because everything else is so consistent. The rule must exist to be broken. The real constraint on poster design is not creativity, it is risk tolerance. A film studio choosing a poster is making a decision about how much it is willing to gamble on novelty versus how much it is willing to pay for familiarity. The more expensive the film, the more pressure there is to choose the template that has worked before. Because the cost of an unusual poster failing is not just a bad poster, it is a portion of a very large investment being poorly protected. Safety produces copies. Copies produce templates. Templates produce the wall of posters that all look, somehow, like each other. And when something genuinely different appears, you notice it instantly, because your brain has been trained to recognize the template. Now you know.